Since we acquired it, oh yeah, let's see what have I seen here. Oh, a couple ancient structures that nobody knew, or here artifacts dated back from 1200s all the way to 1700s and ancient coins. I mean, it's been incredible since you have had access to this lot. Yes, something absolutely terrifying brought everything on Oak Island to a standstill. This mysterious island has always drawn treasure hunters with its legends of hidden riches, but suddenly all excavation efforts ceased abruptly. What could be lurking down there that's so horrifying? Join us as we uncover the chilling discovery that compelled producers to halt Season 12 instantly. The revelation is bound to change everything we thought we knew about Oak Island. The Oak Island story is fascinating and full of surprises. Starting in 1862, when a group called the Onslow Company tried to find treasure there, they dug down deep into the island but hit a big problem. Around 80 to 90 feet under the ground, water began filling up there, making it impossible to dig further. This sparked a lot of curiosity and theories. Many people thought there were specially built tunnels from the sea to the dig site made to flood the pit on purpose to protect whatever was hidden inside. This idea seemed even more likely in 1851 when something unusual was found under the beach at Smith's Cove on the island. Coconut fibers, which don't naturally grow in that area, were discovered there. This discovery made many believe that someone had built a tunnel to let seawater flow into the pit, keeping the hidden treasure safe. As time went on, more people tried to solve the island's questions, each finding new clues and often ending up with more questions than answers. The strange placement of coconut fibers far from their usual home suggested big plans and possibly international connections, maybe involving pirates or hidden royal treasures. However, doubts about these ideas have grown. In 1995, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution suggested that the supposed signs of human design might just be natural geological features of the island. What were thought to be flood tunnels and drains might actually be leftovers from old salt works. Additional studies indicated that the flooding could be due to natural structures like waterfill and hygrite cavities, which are naturally prone to filling with water rather than any elaborate trap. This ongoing debate between the excitement of human-created structures and the more ordinary explanations provided by science highlights the nature of Oak Island, a place where it's difficult to separate true facts from old stories. The recent and sudden end to the island's treasure hunting activities adds even more intrigue to its history. What was discovered, or what people feared was discovered, is still not publicly known, leading to continued speculation, adding a new chapter to the island's long and complex history. A stone reportedly carved with unusual markings was found 90 foot underground on Oak Island. There are various stories about how it was discovered and what happened to it later, each adding its own flavor of confusion and intrigue to the tale. James Dill's 1872 novel The Treasure of the Seas includes an account from his time living near Oak Island in the late 1860s. In his story, the stone had already been taken from a chimney before the characters arrived on the scene. Originally, the inscriptions on the stone baffled many who saw them, although some dismissed them as accidental scratches. The tale becomes even more convoluted with Reginald Vanderbilt Harris's account in his 1958 book The Oak Island Mystery. Harris claims that Jefferson W. MacDonald transported the stone to Halifax around 1865 or 1866. Contradicting this, the Blair letter claims that MacDonald only inspected the stone without moving it. Harris's narrative lacks solid evidence to support the claim of the stone's removal during that period. Further mentions of the stone appear in an 1893 prospectus by the Oak Island Treasure Company, which claims the stone was moved to Halifax for further examination there. It is alleged that James Leakey decoded the inscription to suggest that a large treasure was buried 10 feet below. However, Captain H.L. Bowden wrote in a 1911 issue of Collier's magazine that he saw the stone as a hard fine-grained basalt and observed no visible carvings, leading him to question the story that the inscriptions had simply worn off. Given the stone's resilient nature, during that time the stone was displayed prominently on the island. A local named Smith had placed it in his fireplace, inscribed side facing out, allowing visitors to see it. After Smith's death, the stone was taken from the fireplace and ended up in Halifax, where it was examined by scholars who could not make sense of any inscriptions. It was later taken to the home of J.B. Macaulay and Truro, displayed to many of his acquaintances and sparking interest among those looking for treasure. The stone's journey did not stop there. It eventually became a tool for a bookbinder who used it to pound leather for many years, likely erasing any remaining carvings. Finally, the stone made its way to a bookstore in Halifax with its inscriptions nearly completely erased and its final whereabouts unknown. But the treasure hunt was just getting started. FDR's hidden treasure hunt. Despite people talking about the stone, no one has really looked at the writings on it. Again, one person said the code on the stone meant 40 feet below 2 million pb. Are buried. This idea came out in Edward R. Snow's 1949 book True Tales of Buried Treasure. Snow said he got the symbols from Reverend A.T. Kempton of Cambridge, Massachusetts, but no one else has followed up on this idea, so the stone is just another odd thing in Oak Island's long story. It was interesting once, but now it's just a small part of the island's many stories. Kempton didn't say where he got his information or how. Later, a letter from April 1949 showed he got it from a schoolteacher who had died. Now let's look at the brave and sometimes reckless people who tried to find Oak Island's treasure. Some well-known people couldn't resist joining the hunt. One of them was Franklin D. Roosevelt. His seafaring grandfather Warren Delano Jr. told him stories that sparked his interest in Oak Island. Roosevelt's interest started in the early 1900s and continued until he died in 1945. Even while he was president, he kept up with the treasure hunt. He even planned an undercover visit to Oak Island in 1939, but bad weather and world politics stopped it. Celebrities like Errol Flynn, the Australian-American actor, also got involved. He put money into one of the digging efforts. John Wayne, another famous actor, not only invested money but also sent heavy drilling tools to try and find something valuable. William Vincent Astor, who inherited a big fortune after his father died on the Titanic, supported the hunt quietly with his money. Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who was friends with Roosevelt, took a more active role. He gave advice and was interested in the island, which led to them working together to start the United States Antarctic Service. In 1949, workers found what looked like another treasure pit while digging a well in Mahone Bay. Just 2 foot down, they hit a layer of stones, then logs at different depths. Some logs were even burned. This made people think they might have found another treasure pit. Joy Steele has a simpler idea. She thinks the original pit was a tar kiln when the island was part of the British naval stores. Another idea is that the pit was for an illegal salt works during the same time. Old stories tell of pirates like Captain Kidd or Blackbeard using the island to hide their stolen treasures, burying them where only they could find them. Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach, is one of the most famous pirates ever. He was born around 1680 and started being a pirate in the early 1700s. Blackbeard was scary because of how he looked. He was tall with a long black beard he would tie with ribbons. In battles, he would light fuses under his hat to make smoke and sparks fly around his head, looking like a demon. Blackbeard's ship was called the Queen Anne's Revenge. It was a French slave ship he captured and armed with 40 guns. He terrorized the seas around the West Indies and the American colonies' east coast, scaring sailors and towns. His scary rule lasted until he died in a big fight with British naval forces off the coast of North Carolina in 1718. Even though the stone from 1949 was interesting, no one looked into it more. The stone's code said, 40 feet below 2 million PB are buried, which came from a 1949 book by Edward Rowe Snow. Snow got the symbols from Reverend A.T. Kempton, but no one else followed up, so the stone became just another odd part of Oak Island's story. It was once interesting but is now just a small piece of the island's many tales. Kempton didn't say where he got his information. A letter from April 1949 said he got it from a schoolteacher who had died. Now let's look at the brave and reckless people who tried to find Oak Island's treasure. Some famous people couldn't resist joining the hunt. One of them was Franklin D. Roosevelt. His grandfather, Warren Delano Jr., told him stories that made him interested in Oak Island. Roosevelt's interest started in the early 1900s and continued until he died in 1945. Even as president, he kept up with the treasure hunt. He even planned an undercover visit to Oak Island in 1939, but bad weather and world politics stopped it. Celebrities like Errol Flynn, an Australian-American actor, also got involved. He put money into one of the digging efforts. John Wayne, another famous actor, invested money and sent heavy drilling tools to try and find something valuable. William Vincent Astor, who got a big fortune after his father died on the Titanic, quietly supported the hunt with his money. Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who was friends with Roosevelt, took a more active role. He gave advice and was interested in the island, which led to them starting the United States Antarctic Service. One of the most intriguing aspects of Blackbeard's legacy is the question surrounding his buried treasure. Despite numerous tales and legends, no one has ever definitively found Blackbeard's treasure. Some believe it lies hidden on the coast of North Carolina, while others suggest more exotic locations. This enigma has kept treasure hunters and historians intrigued for centuries. More complex stories involve Templars or Incas using the pit to hide their valuable items from European invaders, or Masons using it for complex initiation rites. As detailed in various books and theories by authors like Mark Finnan and Penn Leary, some even suggested that the pit might have been used to hide evidence that Francis Bacon was the real author behind Shakespeare's plays. With a mix of historical intrigue and creative speculation, theories about Oak Island continue to grow with each new book or documentary, each adding more to the already complex lore surrounding the island. From respected historical figures to regular treasure seekers, the island continues to attract a diverse crowd, each person eager to find not just material wealth but also a piece of history, no matter how improbable the story might seem. Whether driven by fame, the potential for wealth, or simple curiosity, the fascination with Oak Island remains strong, securing its place in the history of treasure hunting.